Hey, folks. So we are officially back in the USA. Back in America, man, right? So we're here, and actually, this is a great time of year to be back in Maryland because, as you can see, all the flowers and everything are blooming, and everything looks very lush. Like this point being in Maryland, this time of year, this is when you really fall in love with a place, especially like with our house. Because again, everything is just green and lush and absolutely beautiful. It's not too hot. It is past the cold season. It is past the cold season, but not too cold and not too hot yet either. This is just an absolutely great time. Ah, look at that stuff. Look at that stuff. So right now I actually took off my little external microphone. So I'm using the internal surround sound microphone. So I'm curious how this will sound with an end product. Because it's not too windy right now. Like one of the reasons why I got that external microphone for traveling and also for taping around here was there was so much wind earlier before we left. But it's not that windy right now. I don't know why. Maybe the weather pattern has shifted. So I took that off. And what might be nice, especially when I'm doing these Let's Live videos, is if I have the surround sound microphone on, the good part is it'll be easier to hear me back here. So the thing is, when you have the external microphone on, it picks up sound in front of the camera. So if it's not too windy, this is nice because it picks up the sound from behind the camera too. Oh, but yeah, it's that thing. You come home after a long trip and take a walk around the house and see how everything is looking. And basically it's looking like the normal house. Again, everything is just a lot more green, a lot more lush. I'm very happy. Very happy the lawn has been getting mowed while we were gone. Again, one of the things in life, one of the important things in life is always make sure your landscaper, your lawnmower, whatever gets paid. Again, you folks think that I don't think anybody out there in the world is valuable. Believe me, I just know who I consider valuable. And my lawn mowing person is somebody I consider valuable. So literally before we left, I prepaid a month's worth of payments just to make sure that he had the money in his pocket so that he would keep mowing the lawn. Because it would kind of suck. It would kind of suck to come back from a trip to find your lawn is like 1.5 inch deep and then have to figure out what to do with it. But anyways, coming over here, taking a look at our nice, beautiful pond again. It is so nice to see our little pond. We'll see the fishies. This is this little swamp area that I've been trying to build, that I was building before we left. So that's some of the grasses that I took from the filter pond. And you can see that they're starting to actually grow down here. They're actually flowering up. This will be nice. So I'm creating this whole little swamp area here. The idea being that there's not any real area for small fish to hide in this pond. So unfortunately, our fish haven't been reproducing. Well, they have been reproducing, but they've probably been getting eaten. And so even though our koi are big and therefore they don't get eaten very often, I would like new koi to be growing up really. But the thing is there's no real place for new koi to hide, and so that's why I've decided to create this little wetlands area. So there's lots of rocks underneath the water here, and do all this. And the idea is that when the fish, they'll be able to breed, and the little tiny fish will be able to hide out here until they get big enough to go wander out into the rest of the pond. And so hopefully they'll survive longer. Because we've seen little fish, and they're really cute. You'll see these little goldfish, these little koi, and they'll run around, and you'll see them running around for 2 weeks until they're all gone. There'll be a whole school of them too. There'll be a whole school of the little fish until they just disappear. And don't really disappear. They probably just get eaten by the bigger koi because the bigger koi are hungry. Yeah, come out here. You can see all the crap on the top of the pond. We've actually got to, I need to go and get what the hell's going on under there? Oh, that's a snake. See, we got lots of stuff coming around here. We don't just have fish, we have snakes. And that's a problem. Those big old snakes right there, they have a tendency to like to eat any fish that they can shove in their gullet. Let's just piss off the snake. Let's wander after the snake. Hi, snake. How you doing, snake? Don't worry. It's a completely... Whoop, and it went under the water. They're safe for us. They're safe for humans. But they do like to eat the little fish. Snakes. We have a lot of snakes on the property. That's one thing. If you don't like snakes, this is not the property for you to have. We have huge snakes. Every time we have like workers come, they're like, "Oh my golly, you have so many snakes. What are you gonna do about your snakes?" And it's like, I don't know. Let them do whatever the hell they're gonna do. But we can come up here. We can see how our filter pond is doing. And if you remember this from before we left, all the grasses were very low before, and now they're growing up and being very tall. And the good thing that I like to see is one thing that dies every year. You see all this water grassy type stuff? This is one of the things that oxygenates the water and also helps clean it out. But one of the things you don't see before, and people are giving me crap about the how green the water was, is that every year they die, and so basically it all dies and goes away, but then as it warms up, this stuff comes back to life again, and this will really help clean out the water in the pond. If we can go over here, you can see a lot more of it. This is a different type of grass, but again, if you remember me showing you folks videos before of this upper pond, none of this was here before. Like this, none of this, you couldn't see any of this. And simply in the 3 weeks since we've been gone, this is all sprouted up, and so this will get thick enough that over the course of the summer, I'll actually have to take like 1 or 2 wheelbarrows full of it out. Like this stuff grows like grass once it starts going. The thing is, just during the winter, it all dies. It all goes back to somewhere, but then it all sprouts again once it gets warm. And there would be a lot more of this right now. It's been a cold spring here in Maryland. I mean, we're into May, and it's still topping out at like 70 degrees, which is abnormal. It should be up to like 80 degrees or so now. And I'm very happy about this. This is all looking a lot better. Grass is growing in. That's kind of the cool thing. Like when you do like landscaping work and then you leave, because that's the problem with landscaping work, is even once you've done it, then things have to grow in order for it to get nice. And so that's a problem. Like you do all this work and it doesn't necessarily look that nice. So the nice thing is you do all the work and then you go away and let it start growing in. And then when you come back, it starts looking a lot better. That's a good thing. I could not be a landscaper. I could be like a construction guy, because you actually build everything. Like when you're building like a garage, then when you're done, you get to see a garage. So I could be like a construction person if I really had to. Again, if I had to, I'm not saying I want to. If I had to, I could do that. But I would not want to be a landscaper, because so much of landscaping, you sit there and you bust your ass and you do all this really hard work. But the reality is not, I mean, it may be a month before you can see it, but it may be years. Like some of this landscaping work, like my wife and I will go off to these fancy places and they'll talk about the landscaping work that was done to those fancy places. And I swear to you, some of these places, it's the type of thing where the landscapers go in and they do their job. And then it's like a decade or more later until you can see the results. Like, and some of it's not even a decade. Where is it? Down in Asheville, North Carolina, there's the Biltmore Estates. And man, for the people who did that work there, when they did the landscaping for the Biltmore is this huge, beautiful, amazing house. Go see the Biltmore. If you've never seen the Biltmore, go see the Biltmore. Amazing house, built in the Gilded Age, the whole 9 yards. But literally, when they built that house, and they did all the landscaping, they realized that the landscaping wouldn't look how they wanted it to look for a generation. It was like they knew it would be 50 years until it looked how they thought in their head, which is amazing. I have all the respect in the world for people that can think that far and build for the future to that degree. I am just not one of those people. I can do a lot of things in the world, but if that was my job, if my job was literally putting all this work in and then to know, like, literally I might not survive to see when it was actually technically complete, I'm not sure I could do that. I would be not that type of person. But anyways, let me get my little kombucha, and then we will start chatting about the trip back. So this, especially after all the crap that happened in my system while I was in Southeast Asia, I figured I'd get some kombucha. So my wife and I went to Whole Foods today. Food that you can trust. It's so amazing to pick up food and go, you know what? I highly doubt any of this food could kill me. So I went to Whole Foods today and I picked up 4 of these. I'm not normally a probiotics nut, like truly and honestly. I used to be interested in probiotics years ago, kind of like when the fad came in and the kombuchas. And I like kombucha. Kombucha actually tastes good. Again, there's nothing against kombucha. And I used to drink a lot of it. I just, $3 a bottle or whatever. It's like, I don't really see the point normally. But after all the Cipro and antibiotics and everything that I took in Southeast Asia and everything else that happened in my system, I figured, you know what? It may be a placebo. It may be a placebo. Do placebos work if you know they might be a placebo? I don't know. Maybe a placebo, but on the off chance that it's not a placebo, I figured I'd go out. I say get myself 4 kombuchas today just to kind of try to get all the stuff going back in my system, whether it's to balance out the bad bacteria, so whether I have too much bad bacteria and I need more good bacteria, or if it's just with all the antibiotics getting rid of all the bacteria in my system. One way or the other, I figure maybe some probiotics would be good. Oh, it is tasty. I do have to say, like, kombucha is an acquired taste. It's definitely an acquired taste. It's not like you open a kombucha. The first time you open kombucha, and you're like, ooh, damn, this tastes good. It's kind of like one of those, the first time you open a kombucha, you're like, oh my God. People drink this? Might as well spend money for it? And then you have like 5 kombucha, and then you're like, ooh, this is some good stuff right here. This is kind of like tofu. And the first time you have tofu, you're like, oh, this is horrible. But then you have like tofu like 10 times. You're like, some pretty good stuff here. Anyways. So yeah, we did the trip from Bangkok back to Baltimore. I really don't know if it's like yesterday. It's so funny, like when you think about time. Like time is so hard. Like you don't realize how much time really is a human construction until you get into these weird areas where time doesn't really seem to make sense anymore because you're so used to like saying today or tomorrow or yesterday or whatever. But like when you do a 24-hour trip and the 24-hour trips takes you through 13 hours of time difference, then what is yesterday? Right. So like we flew out, so we were in Bangkok and we flew out at 2 a.m. in the morning on Thursday. Yeah. Actually, that's so bizarre because we flew out at 2 a.m. in the morning on Thursday. It was a 24-hour flight, but there was a 13-hour difference. So I'm now talking to you at like 6 o'clock on Friday. Yeah, that's kind of weird. I didn't think about it. So we flew out at like 2 a.m. on Thursday, and after 24 hours, we landed at like 3 p.m. on Thursday. So how does that work? Do you just kind of lose like a day in the air? Because if you do it by like just time, from the time you took off, and then you say at the time you set down, then that means it was like 13 hours. And it wasn't 13 hours, it was like 24 hours. So anyways, not really sure. Today, tomorrow, yesterday. But this is one of the good things like with travel and adventure. It makes you think about things you never think about. And now you're probably sitting there going, well, that's stupid, Eli. But here's the important thing, right? If you're going to be in the technology world, if you're going to be a successful technology professional, and I would argue most technology professions are dying. So really, if you just want to be a good professional that happens to be proficient in technology, where the outsized money is, where the outsized reward is when you can figure out how to make normal things more efficient. So the things that you do in life and don't even think about, and you stop thinking about them, so you stop thinking about how to make them better or more efficient. See, if you can go back and revisit those ideas, many times you can find ways to make them more successful or better. And so when you do things, like when you force your mind to rethink how you conceive time, I know that may sound really ridiculous and really stupid, but it really does make you start to look at the world in a different way, and you might be able to conceive of ways to do things better, right? Like, so we were in the plane, and so while we were in the plane, even though it was light outside, they forced everybody to close their windows so that it's dark inside so that more people sleep. So even though it's light outside, they make it dark to get people to sleep. You're like, okay, well, what does that really matter? But again, when we start thinking about time, then it starts making you question, you know, in a work day, is a 24-hour day really the most efficient way to have a work day? Like, well, what does it matter? Because, you know, sun goes up, sun goes down. But then you start thinking about it. It's like, well, in the modern world, we can so change our environment. Would it be more efficient or effective to have 20-hour days or 30-hour days? Right? You know, how would the world be? How would we go about our lives if we could start measuring days on 30-hour days instead of 24-hour days? Or 20-hour days instead of 24-hour days? Like, how would that work? It's just one of those things to be thinking, because like so much of our 24-hour day, we have so much like kind of almost wasted down space. Like I would say like most people have like 4 hours a day that you really don't know what to do with. You have your work time and you have your downtime and your sleep time, but then there's like 3 or 4 hours that are kind of, So what if you went to like a 20-hour day? Would that eliminate the weird downtime? And if you did that, could you be happier? Could you get more work done? You know, and it is something to think about, again, especially with self-contained environments. So if you hired people, and let's say you hired people for a month at a time, but during that month you then had 20-hour day cycles, right? Makes you think. Yeah. Again, like I said, that's where the adventure and the travel and all that kind of stuff, it's all these things that we take for granted, like crossing the street. At least in America, you know, we think we know how to cross the street, and then you get over to a different country and everything is entirely different. And, you know, is one better? Is one worse? Right? I don't know. It's things to be thinking about. But anyways, whether it was yesterday or the day before, whenever the hell we got on the plane, we got on the plane at some point. Again, we had the nice, we flew out at 2 a.m. in the morning. So we picked up a taxi at like, I don't know, like 11:30 at night. So we flew in, we drove into Bangkok. You'd have to be careful in Bangkok and a lot of these other international places because they actually have 2 different airports. And they can actually have 2 different international airports. So in Bangkok, Suvarnabhumi or whatever is to the east, and then the different one is to the north. So you do have to make sure when you tell a taxi driver, do make sure you know what frickin' airport you're going to and they know what airport to take you to. But we took the taxi and we got there, no big deal. Yeah. Weird thing that we found with Bangkok, and again, one of the weird things like flying out, was they didn't really seem to have any normal stores. Like leaving, they had all these duty-free stores. They had more duty-free stores than you've seen in your life. An amazing amount of duty-free purchasing between where you get your ticket and the gate. But they didn't have like any really like normal places to buy food. So again, that was weird. Like trying to buy like normal food and water, I ended up getting these things called Bangkok cookies for the plane because I couldn't find anything like normal, like just any normal snacks, even like normal Thailand snacks. It was all this weird duty-free stuff. So we went there. Then one of the funny things, so we flew, and so it was 6 hours from Bangkok to Doha. Got off at Doha, 3 hours there, then down to 14 hours from Doha to BW or to Dulles. But the funny part was, and again, things about how to get around rules and think about rules and what do rules actually mean. And so it was interesting. So since there's increased security for any planes going to the United States, that isn't there for other places. It's funny because you can't take water. Like, so what they did in Doha is you're already through security and everything, but to get to your actual gate, you have to go through another layer of security. And then you're in like this enclosed area before you get on the plane. Well, the problem is in Doha, they don't allow you to bring any water or any liquids, even if you bought them in the airport through that extra layer of security. And again, I'm not going to complain about this because you are in the middle of the Middle East and I do want to get home. You know what I'm saying? Hey, if they want to be overprotective on security, great. Right? So my wife, she obviously likes to drink a lot of water, you know, with health and all that kind of stuff. And so she was trying to figure out, she was like, what the hell am I going to do? Because I can't get the bottles of water through security. So an interesting thing that the little shop owner was like, oh, I know what to do. This is very curious. So you can't take a bottle, even a sealed bottle of water that you purchased in the airport. You can't take that through the security. So what the shop owner did is he put her 4 bottles of water into a duty-free bag, sealed the duty-free bag, and then she went through the security, and then when she got on the other side, they gave her her duty-free bag. And again, it's thinking about the problem. It's thinking through. So like normally with duty-free, duty-free you buy alcohol, duty-free you buy cigarettes, duty-free you buy, whatever, cashmere shawls or whatever. So normally that has to stay all sealed or whatever all the way until you get to the United States. But since she bought water, she could get it in the duty-free bag. The duty-free bag then went around security, and she could then get it on the other side and drink water on their trip. Again, those random ways to think around problems. And again, with travel and adventure and all that kind of stuff, why I think that's so valuable, especially for new professionals and for young folks, is again, it gets you thinking about the actual problem. It gets you thinking about solutions in ways that you wouldn't normally think about it, right? Again, if you can't bring water through normally, but duty-free gets whatever you purchase duty-free past security, then why don't you buy water duty-free and get it past security? Things to think about, right? Anyways, other than that, we had a nice, relatively uneventful flight. Long flight. Oh my golly. Long, let me tell you. I do not want to be taking a 24-hour flight for a long time. Because that is a long flight. Being in the air for like 6 hours, then landing, then being in the air for 13, 14 hours. But Qatar Airlines, I do have to say, Qatar Airways, again, I give thumbs up. They had good food along the way. They had good entertainment along the way. They're very nice, very polite folks. I can't say any downside to Qatar. I mean, like, really the only downside is we flew economy, but that was our budget, not their problem. I mean, for economy, it was good. I mean, like I say, the only complaint was really his economy. The only weird thing that I found with this time coming back is my butt started hurting. Like, even on the trip from Bangkok to Doha, I don't think the seats were any harder. I think it was the exact same aircraft that we used before. But for whatever reason, my butt started hurting. And that is the hardest thing. That is the hardest thing on an airplane. I can deal with a lot of stuff on an airplane. I can deal with a bit of a headache on an airplane. There's a lot, but like when your butt hurts, like what do you do with your butt hurting on an airplane? That was a difficult one. So something to think about. If your butt normally hurts on planes, you may think about like bringing an extra little padded seat. I didn't think about that before this trip, but I may do that in the future. Because there is nothing like your ass hurting. Your ass hurting when you got another 10 hours in a seat. Anyways. But yeah, then we just came home and hopped in the car. Had another 3-hour drive home because, of course, it was rush hour from DC. Got home, and everything seems pretty good. The fish are good. The fish are alive. The house looks good. Everything is nice and green and beautiful. So now we just have to recover to get ready for our next trip. Get ready for our next set of adventures. Yeah, not exactly sure when that'll be. We'll be going out, taking a look at the travel trailer this week. May take the video camera when we do that. Kind of prep that up. I mean, we definitely know we're doing traveler trailer trips this summer. We're not going to do the Europe. Europe may be in the fall. see what my wife says about that. Europe may be in the fall. But we're definitely doing the travel trips this summer. So we'll go over to the travel trailer park place and start taking a look at that and get the travel trailer all ready for the trips. I do think like before we really set out, I want to take a smaller trip with the travel trailer just to make sure all the pipes and everything are working how they're supposed to. My mistake. I fucked up. Again, I did not winterize the trailer properly during the winter, so I did not expect. We kind of went from like a really, really mild winter to a really harsh winter, like literally that quick. And so I had meant to winterize it better, but you know how meant to goes. So I would like to take it out for a little bit shorter trip that's local in the area. So if anything goes pop, it'll be easier to fix while we're around here. But yeah, we'll go out there and we'll prep the travel trailer. Hopefully maybe do a little trip. Beyond that, I am looking at the Phantom 4 drone, the Phantom 4. I do think I will probably get that. Probably order that one tomorrow, because I think that would be really cool. That would be really cool, because the Phantom 4, the DJI Phantom 4, has that whole auto follow feature with not just a 4K camera, but it also does 1080p at 50 frames per. It actually does up to 120 frames per second. So we'll just do it at 60 frames per second. And so I think that will be nice and sweet. And again, any folks out there that want to start doing video stuff, my less than humble opinion, having done a lot of different types of video, I would definitely go for 1080p at 60 frames per second. I think that is actually a superior format to 4K at 30 frames per second. Just because you get a lot smoother feel to the video. So most people aren't really going to watch real 4K anyway. So when you do 4K video, it's usually a higher resolution than most people are going to watch anyway. And 1080p is actually a fine resolution. It's a fine, good resolution. And so what I find is you can either make the videos a higher resolution that most people don't care about, or with that 60 frames per second, that double the frame rate, it just makes everything so much smoother. I mean, there's just, like, when you look at 60 frames per second, there's just something, you just look at it and you're like, wow, you can really tell the difference. Again, 1080p to 4K, visually a lot of times you're like, I don't know, maybe there's a difference, maybe not. But when you see 60 frames per second, actually at 60 frames per second, there really is a difference in that video that is just absolutely amazing. So with the DJI Phantom 4, not only does it do 4K, don't know if I care about that, but it does do actually it says 120 frames per second, so we'll scale that down to 60 frames per second, which I think that'll be absolutely beautiful. So what I really want to do is like the shots, so you guys will really see where I am, where, you know, set on the auto follow and then have it just following me as we walk through the trails or whatever for, you know, 20 or 30 minutes at a pop. I think that'll be really cool, especially when we go up to the Adirondacks. Adirondacks is a beautiful area. Again, I talk about the Adirondacks a lot, and I talk it up because it's just one of those areas of the world, the country, that people don't really talk about. Like, I didn't know about it until my wife took me up there years ago. I was like, Adirondack, upstate New York. And again, I would not want to have to live off the economy of the upstate New York. I would not have to actually want to pay my bills up there. But if you're going up there for travel and adventure, it's a very nice place. You got mountains, and you got lost ponds, and you got lakes. It's just a really great place. So that'll be some cool stuff. And yeah, and that's about where we're at. It was funny today. We were at Whole Foods, and again, the weird thing with being like YouTube famous is it's so funny when everybody gives me crap for saying I'm famous. Oh, you arrogant bastard! It's like, no, I don't care. I never really wanted this, but it was funny. Like, so I'm still really dazed. The only reason we went to Whole Foods is basically we don't have any food in the house. And so my wife's in Whole Foods finishing the shopping, and then I go out and I'm going to Starbucks. And literally there's this person like sitting in the little courtyard for Starbucks who looks over and goes, "Oh my God." I'm like, "What? No." And then he's like, I'll be calm. We're like, "Hi." He's like, "You're Eli, aren't you?" And like, "Yes, I'm Eli." Sat there, had like a 15-minute discussion with a fan. That was interesting. I'm just sitting there like, look, I'm really out of it. I just got off the plane like literally like yesterday. So like, don't mind me. So we're sitting there like talking. Good person. It is weird, like, but it is weird too, like when you're talking with fans and like where they are in the storyline. Because he was like, "Oh, yeah, did you just get back from Seattle?" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I started watching you a bit ago, and so you were in Seattle. So if you're saying you just got back." I was like, No, I just got back from Thailand." He's like, "What? Oh, I haven't seen those videos yet." And it is weird, like when we talk about things like modern communication, and this is like the bizarre thing, like, so people may be like listening to you and hearing what you say, and they may be doing it in order, but it may be like from 5 months ago. And that is like a weird thing, like I say, like with this whole idea of modern communication, where somebody can follow you, but they don't actually necessarily have to follow you in real time. They can be like, "Yeah, I'm an avid viewer, but it's all like 5-month-old stuff, and it is like this weird. It is this weird thing. Again, this whole issue of time. I've really been thinking about time a lot lately, because I think in this modern world that we're able. Time doesn't mean what time meant 10 years ago. And I know that sounds absurd, but if you think about how we use time now, it would seem absurd 200 years ago. Like the whole concept of time that we have now was all built around the railroads. Because once the railroads started moving people and packages and all that kind of stuff, the normal person needed accurate time. So the original need for time, the original reason people needed time was for sea navigation. So if you know what time the sun is at the zenith or whatever, then you can track where you are. So that's when we first started getting really accurate time. But the average person, and even most businesses, didn't need to really know what time it was, right? You know, is the ship in the harbor or is the ship not in the harbor? That's all they really cared about. But then with the advent of the railroads, that's when time really became important to business and the railroads and all that kind of stuff. And then as we've gone forward, time has become more and more important to normal people. So that we're now, most of us are controlled by the time clock or whatever. And so, again, one of the interesting things about like travel and communication and all that kind of stuff is, you know, what would the world look like if we start conceiving time differently than we conceive time now? What if I can pre-tape a conversation so that a generation 20 years from now can hear me discuss things? Again, you think about like that mailbox. There was like one of these weird, horrible sci-fi girly chicks where these people communicated through a mailbox. Like one person put a letter in, and that showed up 30 years ago, and the other person put a letter in. But we're getting to a time when you might actually start being able to do that. Not quite sure how, not sure perfect. But again, it's so funny. Like I say, think about that whole time. Like again, is it yesterday or is it today? Or when I get on a plane at 2 a.m. in the morning and I fly 24 hours and then I get off and it's only 13 hours later, then did I get on the plane yesterday or did I get on the plane today? But today should be within the confines of 24 hours. But again, those random things that go on in Eli's side. And that's why I like doing Fail Normal. See, this is why I prefer doing Fail Normal over Eli the Computer Guy. Because when I do Eli the Computer Guy and I do videos on Eli the Computer Guy, I've got to confine it within virtual private servers or whatever. With this, we can start talking about things like how you conceive time. And if you conceive time differently, could you make life better or more enjoyable or such? And again, something with time. Like, and especially this is something for a lot of YouTube content creators to be thinking about, is how you can start manipulating time in order to make better content and to make better value. Because this is something to realize. So a lot of people don't realize, again, YouTube content creators can make a lot of money. Now, admittedly, this channel is up to a whole whopping $127 in ad revenue. But we're getting up there. It's actually not too bad. When you think about it, when I started, before we left for Thailand, I was at like, I don't know, $10 a month. And now I'm up to $127 a month in ad revenue. But right, there's a lot of money to do in ad revenue. And one of the things I've talked about is most YouTube content creators have about zero creativity. Yeah, they're not doing Let's Live videos. They're not questioning how time can be used. They have pretty crappy stuff, right? But that's fine. Hey, as long as you make a buck however you're going to make a buck. But one of the things that I was thinking about is, so and this is a good thing with like adventure and travel. So when I was in Thailand, so I got sick. I got that cellulitis in my foot. And then since I was in bed rest, I was in this weird seaside town, and I figured, okay, let me just go see a movie today because I can't do anything else. If I can't go adventure and see temples and all that kind of stuff, hey, I might as well see a movie. So I went and I saw Captain America Civil War. But here's the thing. I saw Captain America Civil War, and you can see them when I did the review, whenever I did the review of it. I saw it like a week or a week and a half, something like that, a long time before it came out in the States even. Like, again, when you think about like Hollywood movies, I always thought they came out in the States first and then everywhere else, second, third, fourth, and fifth. But they actually came out in Southeast Asia like a long time before it came out in the U.S. Because it came out in the U.S. May 5th. And again, I did the review. It was like at least a week beforehand. And it had already been out a couple of days. And so one thing, too, when you need to be thinking about conceiving with time and all this kind of stuff, is when you realize how much money some YouTube content creators make off of things like reviews for movies. They make a lot of money off of reviews for movies, especially if you have spoilers in there. Well, here's something to think about, right? So my plane ticket to Thailand, God help me, I don't want to do this. I am explaining to you folks something theoretical that you may or may not do. I don't want to do this. But here's something to think about. My plane ticket on Qatar Airlines to Thailand and back again, was $800, $800 US. So, if I was so inclined, and if I made money doing reviews of movies, for around $1,000 US, because I could fly into Bangkok, have a hotel room, watch a movie, and basically fly out, tape the review and fly out again. So for sub $1,000, you could watch a movie on the big screen, on the IMAX 3D big screen, real modern high tech. This ain't like some freaking candle powered thing. And you could actually log your review with spoilers a week before the movie even comes out in the United States. And again, this is just something for I would say, like modern folks, especially with YouTube content creators and other things, to be thinking about with how you do business and how you look at the world, right? Because a lot of people, right? So if you were in Baltimore and you heard that there was going to be a premiere in New York City, right? A lot of people would be willing to do that. But how many people are willing or would even think about flying to Bangkok? Again, I wouldn't be one of them. 48 hours on a plane just to see the movie first. It's not something I would want to do, but it is something that is now possible. Yeah, one of those things to be thinking about, especially if you start thinking about how small the world is, or if you're like a big drone enthusiast, right? You love drones. Drones are great, but in the U.S., there's a lot of laws about how you can use drones. So if you're really going to do a lot of drone experimentation just to figure things out, countries like Australia or even the UK are a lot more lenient with their drone laws. So if you're experimenting with drones and trying to figure out how to use drones best, what about if you picked everything up and essentially moved to Australia for 2 months while you did all of your experiments? And while you're over there, you could see how people are actually doing things. Right? Again, this is the kind of thing, once you start looking at the world differently, it allows you to have like a whole different perspective and all this kind of stuff, right? Random thoughts. Kombucha. Kombucha is some good stuff. Again, you really do have to get used to kombucha. This is the Gingerade. I do like the Gingerade, but they got all kinds of different flavors. Even the normal one is good. What's kind of funny though is when we were in Seattle, they actually have the black label kombucha, because this is a fermentation process. So normally when they do the kombucha, there's almost no alcohol in here normally, but with some of the processes, there's a little bit of alcohol left. And so if you ever hear about like the black label kombucha, it's not as cool as you think. Like all this 17-year-olds, ooh, I got black label kombucha. It's like 1% alcohol. It's 1% alcohol. But the normal stuff doesn't have alcohol. Doesn't have too much alcohol in it. I am just acting a little loopy because, again, I'm still getting used to being used to back in the States. But it is nice. It's nice to be out in t-shirt and not like sweating. Like everything is soaked. So it's like 70 degrees right now. So that's nice. Again, a lot cooler than it was in Bangkok and Thailand, but I'll take it. So yeah. Yeah, that particular adventure is over. It definitely did not go the way that I expected. I did not expect Southeast Asia to go that way. I thought it was going to be a 6-week adventure. Did not turn out that way. All in all, we were gone about 3 and some odd weeks. Again, with all the days, and it's kind of hard to figure out exactly how long we were gone. So we were in Southeast Asia for slightly, like 22 days, something like that. And then with the travel, so more or less, it was about 3.5 weeks. But overall, had some really good times there. Again, Bangkok is an amazing place. Even though I had been to Bangkok 11 years ago, I have to say, 11 years later, going back and seeing Wat Pho and the palace and all that was still amazing. Those are world-class, amazing places. So no downside with Bangkok. Ayutthaya, again, it was amazing too. I would have liked to see more of Ayutthaya if I hadn't gotten cellulitis while I was there. Really, the only downside, I say Pattaya. Pattaya was the only downside. But again, you got to look at the actual situation that we were in when we decided to go there. I had to be on bed rest for cellulitis, right? And then we went over to Siam Reap. And Siam Reap is amazing. Again, if you can see Angkor Wat and all those temples, and there are so many temples there. It's not just Angkor Wat. And I would highly argue, I would highly suggest if you do go to Siam Reap, you spend like a week there. I can't imagine like just flying in and out for like a day or two. There's just so much there, and especially if it's hot. If it's hot, which it can be, it just wears you down because you're seeing these amazing places and you're walking like Angkor Wat. Like these temples are huge, so you're walking so much. And the environment is just hard, and it's hot. So if you just go there and you try to see as much as possible in a day or maybe 2, I think you're just going to burn yourself out without actually seeing a lot. So I would really give yourself like 7 days. I would say if you're going to Siam Reap, you should really give yourself 7 days because there are so many temples there. There's so much stuff to see. And plus, again, like I say, the Siam Reap area is a pretty nice area anyway. So that's what I say there. Again, budget airlines in Southeast Asia. I've seen the line. Hallelujah. Bless the spaghetti monster. I have seen the light as far as budget airline goes. Because again, those minibus drivers and all those dipshits, man, they're just shooting themselves in the foot. Because I can tell you, the budget airline was so simple. It was so easy. And again, it wasn't that much more expensive. I mean, like a few bucks on the you put a few extra dollars on the table and you turn a 9-hour trip into a 1-hour trip. Plus you get rid of all of the concern and stupid stuff in the middle. Who the hell's not going to do that, right? Makes a lot of sense to me. So again, any folks out there think about, like I say, going to Thailand and all that. Again, when I did Thailand before, I did the whole bus thing, I did the mini bus thing, all of that. But it's a decent sized country, and 2, it just takes a long time to get from point A to point B. So now that I look at it, again, $100 for a flight. You can go from Bangkok, fly to Chiang Mai, do all the stuff up there, then fly down to Phuket. And fly it back to Bangkok. For a few $100, I just don't see the downside there. You know what I'm saying? I really just don't see the downside there. So I definitely say think about that if you're gonna go, because again, those budget airlines. Again, they're budget airlines, but you're only on the plane for an hour. Like I take Southwest here in the United States, and I do have to say Southwest for 5 hours kind of sucks. It's a budget airline for 5 hours, but again, if you're gonna be, you're taking off and basically landing. When you go up for an hour, you're basically taking off. They're giving you a cup of water and you're landing. It's barely enough time to even know to need to go to the bathroom. So no matter what the seat is, it doesn't really matter, right? And like I say, Air Asia was all pretty simple, pretty good. So I think that was my lesson learned. I think many more budget airlines. Budget airlines is the way of the future. Just so simple, so nice, so easy, so cheap too. Again, it's always funny, like with all these people with mass transit, everybody's like arguing for more trains. And one of the biggest problems, I just want to look at these people like, you know what? One of the biggest issues with trains is you pay twice as much for a quarter of the speed. If you really want trains to take off, have them be economically competitive with the airplanes. Just saying. Kombucha does the body good, even if it is placebo. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else to say? I don't think so. We got up to the 45-minute mark. I think that's good. It's not the full hour, but it kind of teases you a little bit. It teases you. So once I start doing the full hour videos again, you'll be much more appreciative. So maybe we'll start those up tomorrow once I have my brain back. That is one thing with travel, is it really does zonk you. It's one of the big problems that I see with a lot of people, especially like with vacations, is and they talk about this, is that you should have time between when you get back from your vacation and when you start work. Like so many people, like they have to be at work on Monday, and their vacation will end till like Sunday night. And I just don't see how you do that. Because again, it'll take a day or two before my brain is just simply back in gear, right? Just because of all the travel and this and that and flying and stress and everything else. Again, the nice part with my job, I mean, I get paid for just yabbering into a camera, so nothing too bad happens if I screw up. But a lot of people, they got real jobs, and if you do a lot of travel or whatever, and then you go right back into work, that can be brutal. So my advice is definitely have at least a day of downtime, at least a real day of downtime, preferably two from your vacation to your work. Because I think that's one of the reasons why so many people are stressed, and they don't know why they're stressed. It's because, again, they're not really thinking things through right. And so there's this idea that vacations should take all your stress away. All your stress should leave you for vacations. Which isn't necessarily true. Like my wife and I have talked about that. And our vacations are not exactly the most relaxing things in the world. And they never have been. Well, actually we did have some vacations in South Beach where they were vacations. But most of our vacations, we're out horseback riding, we're out kayaking, we're out hiking, we're doing this or that or the other thing. And they're not necessarily what you would consider relaxing, which is good for us, right? Good ecotourism and all that kind of thing. But I can see why a lot of people are getting burned out because, again, they don't. There's this weird idea that only work can be stressful. There's this weird idea that work is stressful and the vacation is not stressful fun. And then I think why so many people burn themselves out is because they kind of want to do what my wife and I do. And so they go to work and they work their asses off, and that's highly stressful. And then they go, okay, I'm going to burn off this stress by doing a vacation. But if you go out and you spend a week or two and you're hiking mountains and you're rock climbing and you're kayaking and you're beating the shit out of yourself, it is cathartic. It is cathartic in its own way, and it's good for the soul. But it doesn't necessarily relieve a lot of stress. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and so I think that's one of the problems is people get all stressed in work, and then they have this idea that vacations should get rid of your stress. But if the vacation you have is stressful just in its own way, and then you get back from vacation and you immediately go to work the next day, it just seems like you keep building up more and more and more and more and more stress, and then you're shocked that you're so stressed out. I can't be stressed out. There's no way I'm stressed out. Don't you know I just had a vacation? I just went on a vacation for 2 weeks, you asshole. How dare you say I'm stressed? Okay, of course you're not stressed. Of course. It's obvious how relaxed you are. So anyways, random things to think about. But yeah, still so zonked. So it's like, woo. Eli, are you there? No. Eli is not here right now. Please check in a day or two after he's drunken a few more kombuchas, and maybe he will be. It's so weird when I say 24 hours on a plane. It's just so... It does something weird. Like I say, there's something that goes on. Because it's just so you get off that plane, you're just like, whoa. But anyways, guess we will end this video as we've ended many videos lately. As I just kind of wander off into whatever. So you know how I say, I don't know whether I'm blathering or blabbering. And then there's just simply a point when Eli just stops talking. Uh-oh, red alert, red alert. He stopped blabbering and has just started looking absently into the distance as his mind starts wandering about time. And what is time, really? And how do we conceive time? And how would we conceive time better? What if a day was 24 and a half hours? Or what if a day was 12 hours? And again, I know you think I'm really weird here, but one of you couple of thousand of people get into your head, you're like, yeah, what if we did? What if we did measure days differently? What if? And I will leave you that as I pivot you around and show you the nice green forest and leave you with that thought. What if we conceived of time differently? What if there were 59 minutes in an hour? Or 30 minutes an hour? Or 25 seconds in a minute? What if? What if?